Welcome back to Kapowich on Real Estate. This is a program dedicated to consumer protection within the residential real estate arena. We began this show about 15 years ago, Pat and Ryan Kapowich at De Anza College, and one of the first shows was on financial elder abuse. We've had a couple of guests a year since then. Tonight we're very pleased to have in studio Janet Berry, Deputy District Attorney, Santa Clara County.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
We don't allow animals in the studio. I know we have a picture of your dog on one of these brochures here as a crime fighter for elder abuse. So, and your dog's name again?
Piper.
Piper.
She's the DA crime lab.
There you go. Now, one of the things as a real estate agent, we see a lot of fraud regarding the principal residence.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, and I saw you speak at the Silicon Valley Association of Realtors, and you wowed the crowd, and a lot of questions that kept going on and on. The meeting ran late. We all were late throughout the day because we were listening to you. In fact, we have that quote. If Ryan could put that quote on the air. Do we have it up? There it is. Taking anything from a senior without permission is stealing, period. So there's a lot of questions going back and forth, and you just said, okay, let me put it to you this way. So can you describe, now does that have to do with, you know, they're taking the coffee table, great-grandmother's earrings, they just keep taking things out of the house?
It can be. It can be. Who's usually doing it, taking an elder's belongings, is either, unfortunately, a family member or a caregiver.
Sure.
And it can range. Anything from pilfering checks and writing them to yourself, or stealing grandma's earrings from the 1940s, right up into obtaining power of attorney from grandma and selling her house out from underneath her.
Right. And I know we've had a guest on the show, and he has individuals that visit the families to provide care for the older adult. But he sees this a lot too, where the people start taking belongings from the household, and it starts to fracture the family tree. And I've heard that a lot in my travels. And then, of course, as Silicon Valley tended to age, now we have a lot of these people in their 80s. And as you mentioned, a lot of the grandfathers have passed on, and now grandmother is left behind. And she really wasn't in control of the books, so to speak, back in the day.
Financial abuse victims that we see tend to be women in their 80s. And as you mentioned, I mean, the demographics of that group of folks, typically the man ran the finances in the house and the woman raised the kids. And men die sooner than women do. And oftentimes the women have lost their husbands and really are not financially up to speed. My own aunt lost her husband a few years ago, and I watched what she went through. And he had always, my uncle had always handled the finances, and she had to not only mourn his death and figure out how she was going to live without him, but she had to learn everything from the ground up.
Right, I see a lot of
about
that.
Complex real estate matters, you know, estate matters, and she was in a bind for quite a while.
Now let's get into some of this, speaking of the caregiver, for instance, or the adult child. And I also see in my travels, and we see it in the newspaper, the adult child often has the grandchild with her, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you made a good point. When the real estate agents are going through properties, they should see, you know, how is grandmother or grandfather, are their belongings all throughout the home, or are they just in the back corner?
Sure. I mean, when you look into the home where people live, wherever people live, there's some sign of them there. Maybe it's a coffee cup here, or their purse is over on the counter, or there's just signs of life throughout the house. So if you're looking to list the home of an elder, particularly if it wasn't the elder who contacted you, if it's a family member or someone else using a power of attorney to conduct the real estate transaction, keep your eyes open. When you go to the residence, look around. I mean, is grandma confined to one room and there's no signs of her anywhere else in the house? Do you even get to see grandma? If you see
Right.
grandma, does she look healthy? Does she seem confused or intimidated? I mean, use your common sense. And
Now, you had mentioned about the power of attorney. How does how does one enact a power of attorney safely for a family member?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. If an elder decides that it's part of it would be a good part of their estate plan to designate someone as a power of attorney, it's a transaction that needs to have a lot of pairs of eyes looking at it. So I recommend that the elder have a meeting at the house with the kids, the relatives, and a couple friends of the elders who are out of the family dynamics, who really are there just for the elder and free from the family dramas.
Sure.
And then the elder says, well, I want to designate somebody as a power of attorney in case I have to go to the hospital and get something done. I just need someone to make sure the bills are getting paid. You figure out on a power of attorney form, there will be different powers that you check off that you can designate to someone. And then you pick someone. So grandma says, gee, Bill, I'd like you to do it. Bill has to accept before it will be valid, accept being the power of attorney. And Bill accepts it conditionally upon committing to providing everybody at that table with a copy of the accounting records, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever
Wow.
the elder decides is appropriate. And let me give you some advice. If the elder should never feel under pressure to give someone a power of attorney. It's quite common for one of the kids to go, give me your power of attorney, come on, you need some help, I can really help you with this, and the elder's reluctant to do so. The elder doesn't have to give that kid a power of attorney, and if there is a kid with a gambling problem, substance abuse issues, the kid who's never been able to hold a job, those are not good candidates for a power of attorney, because it's the keys to the financial kingdom. And unfortunately, many family members who hold powers of attorney kind of see it as a license to steal. And it's not. And we prosecute power of attorney cases constantly.
Well, you had also mentioned that when I saw you speak, is that oftentimes it's the adult child that feels neglected or left out.
Yes, particularly where there's a situation like the elder lives in this county, one of the kids lives in this county, and then all the other kids are scattered across the United States or the world. If that particular one kid who's living here is also the caretaker for the elder, which is common, and they're not paid, or they're not somehow being compensated for, it's a job. It's a very stressful job. They need to be compensated because, unfortunately, resentments build over time, and it's common for that one caregiver kid to feel like they're entitled to start pilfering from mom or grandma's estate. And it may start as, well, I'm just going to pay it back, or I can pay it back, or I'm just taking my inheritance early, or I'll pay it back when I get my inheritance, whatever. And then the money never gets paid back, and it's not that long before a couple $100,000 are gone.
Yeah. Or that also goes when the adult child that's coming to town once a month or every couple of months feels that they've been driving down and taking care, that they load their vehicle up with grandpa and great grandpa's belongings, and then gives it to her spouse saying, hey, you drove me, so you get this. So I see that, I hear that.
Do you?
Yeah.
By the way, if an elder lacks the capacity, if an elder has a dementia diagnosis, or it clearly lacks the ability to understand the consequences of a financial decision or a financial transaction, if that elder if you ask that elder, gee, Mom, can I have the couch? And Mom doesn't really understand that she's giving the couch away, that's stealing.
Right, or when they take it and then weeks later they say, well, Mom, you wanted us to have it.
Right, exactly. That's stealing. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the other part, we had a lot of elder law attorneys on, and often people say, well, you're saying it's stealing, but to some family members, this is priceless. I sat on that couch with my dad and watched Ed Sullivan. Or whatever the case may be, these little things, to one sibling it might be worthless, to another it might be priceless. Whatever the, it might be the dining room table or
like anything else.
Grandfather's chairs.
You ask.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's still grandma's table, you may have a whole lot of wonderful memories for you, but you don't get to just put the grab on it.
Well, that's another thing. When, for instance, it's a great-grandfather or grandfather, and it's sitting there at the home, and they have from the widow, the 80-something-year-old widow, and family members take it. It's gone. And so there we go.
Yeah, and it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's not going to come back.
It's not going to come back.
No.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of families split up like that. Now, getting back to the fraud, let's talk about the sweetheart scam.
Yeah,
I've
sweetheart
seen that.
Scams.
Sweetheart scam. So we're going to go down the list here. We have, for instance, let's say there is no one in town, and the seniors aging in place, older adults aging in place, and the out-of-towners hire somebody to watch mom and dad. And that they are now going, and I saw this in my neighborhood I grew up in, going shopping all the time and running up a credit cards, tens of thousands of dollars. So let's talk about the caregiver or the person that's watching dad first.
That might be a caregiver who is watching dad, and if we're talking about a sweetheart scam, typically a sweetheart scam is an elderly man meets, is out having coffee somewhere and meets a woman who's younger than he is by a generation or so. They become friends, or she starts to cultivate a friendship with him. And then they start working out various kinds of informal arrangements. I'll come over and I'll clean for you, and I'll cook for you, and it's too bad that you're left alone, and so on and so forth. She might start, and again, these are gender generalizations, but it's a pattern that we see. And she might start just asking him for money. And gradually it can turn, she might be playing along with his
loneliness.
His loneliness,
and then
of course.
And also
and his loneliness, she's a woman, and he hasn't talked to a woman in a long time, and she's very nice to him. I mean, how is this not going to appeal to him and not touch a deep human need in him? Unfortunately, there's plenty of scammers out there who do this.
And they're serial scammers.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And what they will do is cultivate a false friendship, and then when the money's gone, he's been giving her money, assuming that there's some kind of relationship there when there isn't, or she's been lying to him about her fictitious 8-year-old daughter who needs open heart surgery. And then when the money's gone, she's gone. And his heart is broken.
Okay, now let's switch gears. Go back to the regular daycare, somebody that comes to the home every day. I remember there was, for instance, one family, it was supposedly a family, different family members would go in there and watch dad. And they ran up credit cards, tens of thousands of dollars. So it's very similar.
Yeah, to do that, the caregiver typically will get joined on a checking account. And just sign up. The elder will give consent if they truly are capable. If they're not capable of giving consent, then that's stealing. But even when the elder gives consent and is fully aware of what they're doing, if the caretaker starts writing checks to themselves, this is a really common pattern, starts, siphoning money off, it doesn't matter if it's a joint account. It's, again, one of those things. If the access does not equal permission. And so if they're pulling money out of an account and they have no permission to do so, that's still theft.
Okay, access does not equal permission.
Exactly.
Ryan, our director, is going to put that on the screen here in a minute. We'll put that today's date here.
Yeah.
Okay, now, this is on your PowerPoint slide, why are seniors targeted?
Wow. Because the current bunch of seniors, and by seniors by law is anybody who is over 65.
So. Older adults.
Older adults, they have they hold the great wealth of the country as far as assets of any kind. And the scammers out there know it. And that's who they go after.
Okay, what I've heard over the years also, they grew up in a time where a handshake meant something.
Yes. Yeah, and
which is not the case anymore for most people, but
right, and when you could look somebody in the eye and know that they were being straight with you, and you could have good faith
just
with
because
them.
they look back at you.
Just because they look back at you, yeah.
yeah.
And there's plenty of scammers who can give you a good handshake and pat you on the back and look you right in the eye and steal from you.
Right. Okay, access does not equal permission. All right, identity theft from the older adults. How are we doing that in terms of, I know I often hear or see in the trade where the elder, especially during the Great Recession, all of a sudden doesn't have title to their home anymore.
Mm-hmm.
How did that possibly happen? They were living in their home for decades, and all of a sudden somebody else has title to their home. In terms of, they meet people at church and say, I can help you get a reverse mortgage, or I can help you get a loan. And why don't you deed it to me and I'll deed it back? All this.
That can actually happen. That particular losing title to the home can happen a whole lot of ways. Mm-hmm. It can happen through a power of attorney. It can happen through a conservatorship being done by somebody who should never conserve anything. It can happen through identity theft. If someone is able to package up, by the way, as far as identity theft goes, plenty of strangers can do it to you. If they gain access to your social security number, your driver's license, your home address and phone and so on are easy to get, by the way.
Right.
But scammers put together packages of your identity and change things like the mailing address and so on, and go down to the recorder's office and file false documents and basically steal they can steal a title if they do it well enough.
What about the mail and the mailbox? You did speak about that.
Something to be on the lookout for where elders are concerned is if their mailbox is suddenly overflowing with offers from lots of different kinds of sweepstakes or special offers, guaranteeing them, $200,000 and a Bentley if they return a check for $10. Those are called advance fee scams. And what they're always predicated on the notion that we've got something wonderful for you over here, but you only have to send us $10 as a verification fee, and we'll send you this great thing, whatever it is. As soon as you send that $10, first of all, you're not going to get this great thing that was promised to you, but that $10 guarantees that your name and your address and your age, if they have it, will be sold to hundreds of thousands of other scammers. They have their own mailing lists and they have their own databases, and they sell this information to other people who buy your information knowing that you will send some money.
Oh, I see.
You see? And as the stakes, the way it happens, the way it goes over time is the stakes rise, the $200,000 in a Bentley, well, it's being delivered, but it's stuck in Reno. The truck broke down in Reno, and now we need $3,000 to fix the truck, and then it'll be there tomorrow, and we'll bring the cameras, and you'll be in the paper. It goes on and on and on.
Okay. Now, in terms of red flags when we see, because neighbors, we have mandatory reporters.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we have, of course, the mailman and the neighbors and somebody
at
the bank.
And the checker at the Safeway.
Exactly.
And actually, bank tellers, employees of financial institutions are now mandated reporters for financial abuse.
Yeah, and I remember, when did that take place? Was that 5
That was
years?
a couple years ago.
Yeah, right.
And it's fabulous. We hear from banks regularly.
Now.
Yes. Yeah.
Occasionally you did before. I have often heard over the decades where a bank teller would say, hey, something's going on with Mrs. Johnson, because she keeps coming in with the same
Mrs.
person.
Johnson never used to come in more than once every 2 weeks, and now she's in here every other day, and she always takes out cash, and she can never tell me what it's for. That kind of thing.
There you go.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Now, red flags. Let's go over some red flags.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, confused, anxious, depressed?
When you talk, yes, somebody who is interacting with an elder, particularly in something like a real estate transaction, keep an eye on the elder. Are they doing any of the talking? Or is the person who holds the power of attorney doing all the talking and, answering all the questions? Does she seem depressed or sad? Does she look healthy? Does she seem intimidated? Does she talk like this?
Right.
You know, and watch the body language.
Right.
You know, when if the person holding POA is like leaning in physically on somebody who's elderly and frail, it has a lot of power.
Yes,
and
it
it's
does.
meant to intimidate,
Right.
and that's how it's taken.
That reminds me of about 10 years ago, I was called out to a property, and the adult daughter that, you know, never left or came back
Yeah.
was there, and so I was at the kitchen table, and the adult daughter was on the couch. Every question I asked the asked the older adult who owned the place questions, the adult daughter would answer.
Yeah.
So finally I turned to the adult daughter and said, why don't I ask you the questions and Mom will answer,
Yeah.
right? So we made kind of fun of it, but
That's a big red flag.
that's a big red flag.
That's a big red flag.
So the adult daughter did not want to sell the house. They're still there,
Okay.
okay? But I think Mom wanted to retire, move on, and get on with her life, but the adult daughter's running the show. So that, it seemed to me, right? So, I mean, as a realtor, when you see something fishy,
You know what? Yeah. That would worry me, that situation. And I really want your listeners and viewers to understand, you don't have to have everything figured out to make a phone call.
oh, good point.
You know what?
okay.
Because Adult Protective Services covers financial abuse. Their number is 408-975-4900.
We should have had that number on our screen. What is it?
And then we have our own phone number. It's an elder fraud hotline. It's 855-DA-ELDER.
Okay.
And by the way, when you call APS, it's confidential, and you don't have to have everything figured out.
Okay, you stole my thunder. APS
Sorry.
stands for what?
I'm sorry. Adult Protective Services.
And that's in every 58 counties in California?
Yes, and it's a 24-hour phone number, so that even outside of business hours, somebody will pick up the phone when you
Okay.
call.
All right. What about their new friend? Red flag, their new friend.
The new friend, yeah, that's more along the sweetheart line of things, sweetheart scammer. Is there suddenly a new person in the elder's life who the elder talks about a lot? And typically it'll be somebody who's at least a generation younger.
I love the ones from church. They seem to...
Oh, you know what? I hate to say this too. Plenty of scammers attend church
Yes.
and work their way. Lots of seniors go to church. It's fertile territory for a scammer.
Oh.
And if they can work their way into a worship community's rhythm, say the right things, sing the right hymns, and so on.
What better cover?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's perfect. Here, let me help you with that.
I met him at church.
And it is just one of the most hideously profound betrayals out there, because there's a level of trust that we extend to people who is a member of our religious community.
Okay, quick.
Sorry.
Okay, now, did we have, real quick here, fraud-proof yourselves?
Yeah, for elders, well, like the power of attorney thing I mentioned, set it up so there's lots of eyes on it. Never ever give out any personal information over the phone. I don't care who they say they are. If it's not somebody you personally know, don't give out any personal information at all. I don't care if they say they're from Social Security, the bank examiner, the IRS, the church,
The church.
any of those.
I love this. Never, ever, ever, all caps.
I try to be subtle.
I could read this without my glasses. Open the door to someone you don't know.
Yeah, we've had, there are plenty of scammers who go door to door promising to repair this, that, or the other thing. Or they are impersonating PG&E workers, utility workers. What they're trying to do is get in the house.
Right.
And so I recommend that an elder have like a peephole or be able to, push the curtains aside and look. Don't even unlock the door if you don't know who's on your porch. And I mean that seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when you unlock the door, if it's a deadbolt, you have thrown the deadbolt and it's easy to kick in.
Okay.
And we've had plenty of cases in this county where elders either opened the door or unlocked the door, and they experience physical harm as well as financial.
Okay, what to do? Closing here. Stay in touch with the seniors?
Absolutely. Seniors need to be going to their senior centers, need to be reaching out to their neighbors, their friends, staying active in the community, taking advantage of paratransit for getting around. Get out of your house if you can.
And I've had I've been called out to homes, and I knock on the door and go in, and then a neighbor all of a sudden follows me. They saw a strange person come to the house, and that's the kind of neighbors we want. So
Yes,
what's
it is.
going on? How you doing, Betty?
Yeah,
Do you
exactly.
know this person?
I got a little lady who lives next to me. She's almost 100. We talk regularly, and if I don't see her for a while, I will call the cops and say, please do a welfare check on my little neighbor. I haven't seen her in a while.
Oh, but I have a past client. The grandson just told me she's not visiting the doctor. That's a red flag.
That is a red flag. Absolutely.
Okay.
Not getting enough food.
And then rehearsal and closing. Rehearsal. What's a rehearsal?
Oh, a rehearsal. When I go out and teach groups about this, groups of seniors, I teach them how to say no.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and
that's
so
right.
I will
That's
be the
right.
bad guy, and we set up scenarios. Like you'll be my
Role
Uncle
play,
Jim,
role play.
and I'll be the niece who really wants to help you with your finances.
Okay.
Please let me do it because I want to help.
Sure.
And I know all about finance, and I can set you up, and your job is to just keep saying no to me.
And once they start touching you, you know that's a friendly, come on, let's do it.
It can happen a lot of ways,
Okay.
but my favorite thing is when the elders are all just like standing there going, no!
Yeah, that's what you want.
That's absolutely what I want.
Okay.
Does my heart good.
Janet Berry, I really appreciate your time today. I hope you come back.
I absolutely will. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks again for watching Kapowich on Real Estate. This is a program dedicated to consumer protection. See you next week.